Hey, good afternoon. Can everybody hear me? I can't hear anybody at all. I don't know if there's
Hello.
audio issues. Oh, there we go. Perfect. All right, let me know when everybody's ready.
Okay, ready, code? Turn on the mic. Okay, Magistrate, whenever you're ready, thank you.
All right, excellent. All right, first, my apologies for the confusion this afternoon. I was under understanding that this was going to be by Zoom, not in person. But we should be okay. I got the agenda, so I got what I need, and it looks like we have good video and good audio. So with that, good afternoon. My name is Myrna Barashi. I'm going to be your special magistrate today. Welcome to today's court enforcement hearing. This is a quasi-judicial hearing, which means it's similar to court like we see on TV, or if you ever have been to real court. However, the rules are going to be a lot less formal, and everybody who's here or on Zoom to speak in regards to a case will have the opportunity to do so. Now, at this time, I'd like for everybody who's going to be testifying or speaking in reference to a case to please stand up, raise your right hand for the taking of the oath. And that applies for our participants on Zoom. Please raise your right hand. Do you swear or affirm the testimony you're about to provide is the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth? Okay. All right, and after that, we'll go ahead and do the Pledge of Allegiance. All right, let's stand up. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. And with that, I'll ask the city to please call the first case.
Mr. Master, this is Attorney Marlon Hill. Are you ready for me to?
I don't think that's us. It's just her.
Can you hear me? Special Master, can you hear me?
All right, is recalling the first case?
Oh, we're gonna go ahead and call, we have three types of cases that you are, we're gonna hear for the Special Master hearing today. There's the new business cases, and we have the mitigation fine reduction cases. Hopefully everyone has signed in the back, and the clerk has checked you in as well. I am going to be serving as the city attorney on behalf of the Special Master. I'm going to be calling the cases, and want to ask you if you could, when you step up to the mic, please state your full name and your address for the record, so that we can make sure that you are the right person, the owner of the property, or your affiliation to the property as well. So thank you for being here and accommodating us both in person and by Zoom. The first case is case number 18-00977. Address is 295 Dakota Drive, and the property owner is Ms. Olga Lost, yes. But before you, then we're gonna ask the city, I'm not sure if you want to, your case, go ahead.
Can you hear us, Special Master? So, as we mentioned, this is property address 295 Nakona Drive. This case was opened a few years back. The property owner for interior remodel, she did obtain an issued permit. However, throughout the years, this permit has expired. The citation was paid back when it was issued. Recently, the permit expired again, and due to the amount of time that it has taken for this project to be finalized, this is why the case was referred to you. Now, the property owner recently did renew the permit, and she is here, and as per the conversation that we had, she would like to request more time to be able to finalize the permit.
All right, let's hear from the respondent. Please state your name and relationship to the case, please.
My name is Olga Lawson, 295 Dakota Drive, Miamisburg.
Okay, and is this the one that you purchased and there had been already updates to the kitchen? There was a permit that was running and it had expired and you were working to go ahead and correct the violations, right?
No, it was a garage that had been converted into 3 rooms with a loft. And financially, my biggest problem is financial, is having the money to do everything. I have done the windows and closed that, done the doors and closed that, done the mechanical and closed that. What else was, we had to close in an entire back section of the building, and we've done that and finalized that. The only thing I haven't been able to do yet is the electrical and the plumbing. So I had to renew the permit again to do the electrical and plumbing. It's my biggest problem is financial, is to be able to pay an electrical contractor and a plumbing contractor. And so I've been saving up. Last year, they took away my homestead exemption because they said that I didn't qualify for homestead exemption because I wasn't living there, which I have 2 homes. I have a smaller home that I had purchased in the spring that I was going to flip, but I haven't, financially, I wasn't able to do that. So I had to take a hard money loan on that. And I was going to, but this is my homestead, but they took away my homestead. So this year I had to pay $11,000 plus the $8,000 taxes for this year. And that's why financially I couldn't finish the plumbing and the electrical. Because they back taxed me 4 years on my homestead exemption. So I just need a little bit more time to get a plumber and an electrician, which I've been trying to find. Lamas, who is my architect that was legalizing and did all the permitting for me, is trying to help me with that, but he had his own problems, and then he was on vacation in Alaska, and now his mother passed away. So it's been, I've been trying since March to get the electrical and the plumbing. In December, I closed out the, which was the last one I closed out, was the windows and the doors, and the wall and the mechanical, all was taken care of. I just need a little more time for the electrical and plumbing.
Do you live in the house? Or is it a rental? Do you live in that house? Because you mentioned that the homestead was removed, but
Yeah,
that's your homestead. Do you live in the house?
Yeah, it's my homestead, but right now, I'm working on the back area, so I'm staying at the other house. I have 2 houses, so sometimes I sleep over there, sometimes I sleep over there, but I only have 1 homestead, and that was only it. I don't know, now I don't have homestead on nothing. because they took over my homestead.
Right. Well, that's not the city, that's not something the city deals with the homestead portion. So that's something that you might want to address obviously with the county.
Everything I had saved.
Do you have a basically how do I say this? Basically a finish line. Do you have an idea of when you'll be able to go ahead and complete it? In other words, the city, I don't think the city's going to be inclined to go ahead and give you another 4 years to go ahead and complete the project.
No, they
So
gave me-
what type of a time frame are you looking at right now?
Well, they opened my permit, I guess the math permit for 6 months, but I'm not hoping, right now, I'm in a position where I'm gonna have to sell. So I have to get it closed, or I can't afford it.
Right, let me hear from the city. Has everything else, has the homeowner been cooperative, and what's the city's position in regards to her request for additional time?
Yes, so the city does not object to granting more time. What we had spoken with the property owner was that we recommend 30 extra days. So her architect actually already had engineers go out and inspect because the work is already finalized. So what she's pending is to apply for her electrical and plumbing sub permits and just schedule final inspections of those subs and the master. So it seems that she already has those engineer letters that are required for the final inspections. It's just that she has had some, trouble contacting her architect to be able to provide that information. But we think that 30 extra days to be sufficient for her, but if she's not able to contact the architect, then because he's gonna be the one that's gonna be applying for those subs.
His mother passed away today.
When is the next hearing? Because obviously we're doing them every 2 months. When's the next hearing?
September 5th.
September 5th.
So,
Do you understand that
No, it's one
what
month
the scope of the work is? Do you understand what the scope of the work is? So that it was just that inspection trying to.
Pay a plumber and an electrician to finalize it. They have to pull the permits for me to finalize it. But this is, what I've got is just the engineering stuff from the architect, which his mom passed away today, so he was gonna be here, but he couldn't.
So, but the point I think that I'm trying to get to is that based on what the city's telling me, it's not actual work that has to be done, it's pulling out the permits and going ahead and getting the inspections done, which time-wise and work-wise is not a huge ordeal, let's put it that way. It's almost just pushing paper and getting it done.
It's financial wise.
No, and I understand that. I understand that. The concern that I think I have, and probably the reason that the city's pushing it with those timeframes is that this is a 2018 case. So it has been open for a very, very, very long time in regards to that work done without the permit. So that's why they're trying to get it to conclusion. I think the city's proposing 30 days. The most I'm inclined to give you is until the next hearing to get it closed out, just basically going on, well, if you're having issues with your architect and getting the subs lined up through your architect, that shouldn't take you, like the city said, any longer than 30 days. But on the representation that the architect had a death in the family and he's having a couple of issues, then I mean, at this point in time, 60 days is probably as much as we can give you. Okay. All right, is the city okay with that until the next September hearing?
Yes,
And what was the date again? I know it's September
September 5th,
what?
5.
I can't still hear it for some reason.
September fifth.
7th.
Fifth.
Okay. Oh, 5th. Okay. Got it. Thank you. Okay, so the last order that was entered on this one, did we have timeframes on it with per diem, or because it's showing on the agenda, is it's today was a status?
No, so she was granted extra time, with the compliance board, but, no, they never gave an order.
There was never an order entered. Okay. So here's what we're gonna go ahead and how was it noticed as status, or was it noticed as new business? I think we were noticing this one as new business.
It would be new business in this case.
It was noticed as new business?
Yes,
Okay. And that's what's in the notice of hearing, right?
I'm sorry, can
Okay.
you repeat that?
So I'm gonna enter my order as new business and just give her those 60 day, that time frame until the September.
Yes,
5th
that's
hearing,
okay.
okay?
Yes.
All right, I hereby find that there was proper service and that the violation as stated in the notice of violation did exist and continues to exist. Some of the permits have been resolved, however, 2 remain outstanding. And as such, I'm going to order the property owner to come into compliance by September 5th of 2023. Otherwise, face a fine of, is there a request for a per diem? $7,500.
Special master 100.
So. Does the attorney make a recommendation as to per diem? Okay. All right, otherwise face a fine of $75 a day until the violations are corrected. Is there does the city have a request for fees and cost?
150.
I'm sorry?
150. 150.
I can barely hear you for some reason.
Really?
And everything is like, on our end, everything is like extremely loud. I do
Are you
apologize.
able to put it on the phone?
Yeah, I'm writing it on the side.
I can hear Erica very well. I can hear the two court officers very well. I can't hear the attorney.
So 150 is the fee
150,
for the
okay.
hearing.
And they
150
also
per
wanted
day, okay.
$100 per day instead of the 75.
Okay, so I'm gonna go ahead and amend the order to reflect $100 per diem. And I'm gonna grant the city's request in the amount of, I think you said 150 in fees and cost. Was it 150? I'm sorry, 150 or 100 for fees and cost?
150. 150.
Okay, 150 in fees and cost as incurred by the city in regard to this matter. I'm bringing it to magistrate. Yes, so we did. All right, so you have until the next hearing date, which is that September date, to go ahead and get everything squared out. Stay in touch with your code officer, keep her posted on your progress. That way, she can, if something goes off, she can go ahead and let me know at the next hearing, okay?
Thank you, Your Honor.
Okay,
Very much.
great, thank you. You'll get an order in the mail.
Mr. Master, is
Right.
your
Next.
volume on max? Is your volume all the way up?
Let me go ahead and check my my mic,
You're having
because
a.
normally I'm yelled at because it's too low. But I'm gonna.
Olga, if you like, you can leave. You receive a copy of the order, but you have until September 5th to have everything finalized. Right, will be the cost. You receive the invoice.
Thank you. Thank you so much.
Alrighty, I lowered the volume from the mic. Is that better?
Not really. All right, so I think we're gonna have to just go with what we have. Right, anyone has any trouble hearing, we'll try to translate for you and try to paraphrase. Next case, new business, case number 20-01875. The address is 397 Palmetto Drive. Obed Tareki and Naomi Tareki.
Magistrado, quería pedirle permiso para usar un intérprete porque mi inglés es muy limitado.
All right, let's go ahead and let
I'm gonna interrupt, yeah,
the
no
city's gonna
problem.
present
I'm gonna
first.
ask the officer to present the case. Officer's gonna present the case and then.
Right, so, this is case number 20-01875, property address.
So this is connected to that point.
397 Palmetto Drive.
You see how
This
it's red
case
right
was
now?
open
That means it's way
on
too
August
loud,
12, 2020. A citation has been issued,
It's
it
connected
has
to
not
this,
yet been
everything is
paid.
connected directly. So you see on that point?
No permits as of today have been applied for, and this was for an enclosure of an open terrace.
And this was originally cited in 2020.
The case was open August 2020, yes.
All right, let me hear from the respondents. Please state your name and relationship to the case, please.
Sí, mi nombre es Obed Jauregui. Vivo en el 397 Palmetto Drive. en Springs.
Okay. And what is going on with the property that there was work done without permits, and since 2020, nothing has been done?
Sí, yo contraté un arquitecto
I contracted an architect
para legalizar ese terrazo
to legalize the terrace.
y él me hizo todos los planos, yo le pagué.
Did all the plans, I paid him.
En febrero de 2001 tuve, pero en enero del 2021
In January 2021.
Tuve una revisión
I had a revision,
y desde ese día para acá no he podido conseguir ese arquitecto
and
jamás.
from that day on, I have not been able to get a hold of the architect.
He intentado de muchas maneras, he ido
I've tried many
presencialmente
ways of reaching him, I've gone to.
por teléfono a la compañía que firmó los
I
planos
went to the company that signed for the
y todos desaparecieron.
and everybody's disappeared.
Ya sabe que estamos en plena pandemia durante todo ese tiempo
We were, during the pandemic at the time.
y lo cierto es que no he logrado que ningún otro arquitecto quiera retomar este trabajo a partir del trabajo que hizo el primer arquitecto.
I have not been able to get another architect to take over the work that the previous architect left undone.
O sea que cualquiera que he contactado quiere hacer el trabajo completo y cobrarlo completo.
Everybody I've contacted wants to do the whole work and charge for the whole work.
Realmente no estoy en condiciones financieras de volver a hacer una inversión así.
I'm not in a financial position to make an investment like that again.
Estamos hablando de una inversión de $5,000.
We're talking about $5,000.
Realmente lo único que hice en la terraza fue cubrir 2 paredes.
I mean, what we did at the terrace was we covered 2 walls.
Ahí no vive nadie, ahí
No
no
one
hay-
lives there.
pero estoy dispuesto a hacer lo que la ciudad quiera que haga. Realmente no estoy en condiciones de pagar esa cantidad de dinero una vez más.
I'm willing to do what the city wants and
Lo que la ciudad diga.
yeah, take it down, whatever,
Lo que la ciudad diga.
whatever the city dictates.
All right, so I think I heard something about, is it something that you could take down?
And yeah.
There's something that you could take down. There's something.
Yeah, but
Sí, hay 2 paredes que puedo tumbar.
yeah, I can take down the 2 walls that we're discussing.
All right, let me hear from the city. It sounds like you've had some communication with the property owner.
I have not had communication with the property owner, but, I'm sorry, I got confused. I mentioned that no permit had been applied for. So he did apply, as you mentioned, for a permit back in November 2020. Now, because of the inactivity with the permit, it was canceled. I do see that, all the departments that reviewed it did have, comments, so no response to comments were ever submitted. So the permit, as I mentioned, got canceled after a year. We would have to discuss it with the building official. He might require a permit for demolition. So, it might be easier for him to demo it than to legalize it. But we don't know the current conditions of it. We were aware we were granted access when the remodel was being done. But, we would have to discuss it further. My recommendation would be for him to discuss it with the building official and confirm, but I would think that a permit would be required to demo that.
All right, so under the circumstances, my inclination is to go ahead and give them 60 days just to come into compliance, whether there is that up through the application and getting the permit, or it goes to demolition, which I understand he would have to talk to the building official to square out in regards to whether he needs a permit or not.
Master,
It sounds like the demo portion might be an
Special Master,
easier.
we cannot hear you. You're worse than before. I don't know if you can do anything.
Is it too loud now?
No, you're less than before when you started.
Oh, I thought you couldn't, I thought I was too loud. So I
No,
lowered it.
absolutely not. Can't hear you at all.
All right, let's try that now. How's that?
Much better.
Is that louder? Less, the same?
A little better. Go ahead.
Can you hear me okay?
Go ahead. Yes, thank you.
Okay, perfect. All right, so it sounds like there's a possibility that the easier path might be to demo, but obviously you're going to have to pass that through the building official. So my inclination right now is to go ahead and give you till that September hearing to go ahead and come into compliance, whichever way that is, because I don't dictate how you come into compliance. In this particular one, you might have the availability of getting it legalized by obtaining the permit, or removing the violation and bringing it back to its original state. However, on the understanding that you need to talk to the building official to see if there's going to be a demo permit required, okay? All right, is there a per diem the city's requesting in association with this case?
Voy a dar un poquito más de tiempo. Ven, go on.
$100 a day, since the other one was also a building permit issue. That was the per diem,
Yes.
okay? And the 150 for fees and cost?
Is that for you now?
It will be after 50 days.
Si voy a ir a negociar con los oficiales.
If I'm gonna talk with the officials, if I can have a phone.
So the special master is giving you until September, the next hearing, to speak to the building official.
Do you want to correct it?
I'll explain it to him in Spanish afterwards. I'll explain it to him in Spanish. It'll probably be easier that way. All right, so I'm gonna go ahead and enter my order. I hereby find that there was proper service and that the violations as stated in the notice of violation that exist and continue to exist. I'm giving the property owner until September 5th, 2023 to come into compliance. Otherwise, the case of fine of $150 a day until the $100 a day until the violations are corrected. And I'm also granting the city is requesting the amount of $150 in fees and costs incurred by the city regarding this case and bringing it to magistrate. Okay, so le voy a explicar ahora la orden que acabo de entrar en inglés. Básicamente, cuando yo entro una orden, yo lo que pido es que la propiedad se legalice. ¿Cómo se legaliza? Eso yo no me involucro en eso porque es su propiedad y usted tiene que hacer esa decisión. En este caso en particular, tiene la opción de hacer el arreglo legítimo, sacando un permiso, como lo estaba haciendo anteriormente, que la ciudad inspeccione y que se legalice. La otra opción, que es una posibilidad, es la demolición de lo que se añadió, regresar la propiedad a como estaba antes. Ahora, la ciudad explica de que tenéis que contactar al building official para ver si ese tipo de lo que se va a remover, si va a necesitar un permiso de demolición, ¿ok? Te estoy dando 60 días, actually más de 60 días, porque es hasta septiembre 5, que es la próxima vista. Y la razón que lo hago así es porque si pasa algo, puedes venir pedir que se te añada a la agenda y puedes explicar qué está pasando, porque necesitas más tiempo, o si ya llegaste ya completaste la legalización, sea por la demolición o porque sacaste los permisos. Pero entonces te vas a mantener en contacto con el court officer, porque esa es la persona a quien que te va a dar la mano, ayudarte a que llegues al finish line, que te llegas a la línea de completar el proyecto. Y que si pasa algo, ella es la persona que te puede asistir en tratar de seguir manteniendo el proyecto moviéndose hacia adelante, ¿ok? Va a recibir una orden en el correo y mi orden lo que dice es, como dije, septiembre 5 del 2023 para completar para legalizar, sea por demolición o sea por sacar los permisos, más $150 de que la ciudad aplicó y pidió y que yo encuentro que es aceptable por gastos incurridos por la ciudad en el caso y tener que llevarlo hasta esta vista del día de hoy. ¿Okay? Y vas a recibir una orden en el correo. All right. As soon as the city is ready, we can call the next case.
Oh, está bien, thank you.
Thank you.
Gracias, gracias.
For the next case that we have is case number 22-0464, 425 La Villa Drive, Amparo, Lisa Ramos.
All right, let's hear from the city.
Sorry?
Go ahead.
So this is, again, case number 22-0464, property address 425 La Villa Drive. This was for an addition of a laundry room that was added to the property. And there was also some interior alterations. The property owner did apply for a permit last year in July. However, as per the conversation that we had with her, she has had some trouble with the person she has hired to submit the responsive comments. So it seems like the plans that she originally submitted to legalize the work, it seems like they needed more information, they did not comply. So she hired, it seems like an architect, draft person to go ahead and submit responsive comments. However, it seems she has not had luck with that person. She is currently working with him and he will be applying for permits. He has reached out to the building official and is aware of everything that needs to be legalized and submitted. It seems like he has already requested or the property owner has provided him the microphones for the property. So she did come into the office last week Friday and spoke with the building official. And as per his recommendation, he wanted us to recommend 90 days for her to have a finalized permit based on the scope of work of the project.
Okay, let me hear from the respondent. Please state your name and relationship to the case, please.
My name is Nilda Ramos. I'm the owner of 425 La Villa Drive in Miami Springs.
Okay, and you heard what the court officer had to say in reference to that meeting. Do you concur in what transpired during that conversation with the building official and the steps going forward?
Yes, actually, they were very helpful
Okay.
because of them. I actually got to speak to the draft person. 'Cause it's been
I am
a
glad,
thing
yes.
before.
I am glad, and obviously the city is going to receive that you're cooperating and trying to move forward. So you did the right thing and stay in touch with your code officer as you move forward. Because like I keep saying, if something goes sideways or an issue comes up, she is going to be your best person to go ahead and approach and try to help you out. Okay. All right. So right now the city is recommending the 90 days. Based on the conversation that the building official had with your architect. Which seems to be pretty reasonable. And I'm glad to see that that there's a plan in place moving forward. So that's really good. Okay. Is there anything else you wanted to add?
No, nothing. I just can't wait to take this forward and finish it.
Perfect. All righty. All right. Is the per diem at the 100 also?
Code?
Yes, it'll be
Right.
the same, as a meditation.
All right. So I hereby find that there was proper service and that the violations as stated in the notice of violation did exist and continues to exist. I'm ordering the property owner to come into compliance within 90 days. Otherwise, face a fine of $100 a day until the violations are corrected. I'm also granting the city's requesting the amount of $150 in fees and costs incurred by the city in regards to this case and bringing it to magistrate. Okay. You'll get something, you get an order in the mail.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you. Okay, next one.
All right, the next case, 230073, same address, different address, 516 La Villa Drive and 516 La Villa Drive LLC.
Court Officer Davis Borrego again. So this case started with a garage that was being converted. And then we received a complaint from, it seems like a contractor, and he forwarded us information that the interior of the property was being remodeled as well. He sent us a whole video of the property on the interior. We did come into communication with the property owner when the citation was issued. It has not yet been paid, and he seems like he contracted somebody and a permit was applied for. However, it was only applied for a kitchen remodel, so that doesn't comply with our case. And it seems like the building department as of right now has the permit on hold until further until I would say a response to comments is submitted, as it currently doesn't comply with the case. So currently, right now, the permit is for a kitchen remodel, and the case is for a garage conversion, and also the whole interior of the property that was remodeled.
When were those comments issued that have not been responded to?
I will let you know right now, 1 second. So the permit was applied for April 14, 2023, and the comments were. I'm sorry, 1 second. On April 14 as well. It doesn't state whether a call was made or emailed, but it was the same date that the building department got back with those comments.
Okay, so we're still basically on hold with that 414 comments, nothing happening.
Correct.
All right, let me hear from the respondent, sir. Please state your name and relationship to the case, please.
Yeah, good evening, everyone. I hope you can hear me. My name is Luca Ivanov.
I can.
I'm the property owner.
Okay.
Long story short, I went from being scammed by the contractor I hired to help me remodel this property. And yes, we converted the garage. That's correct. Besides that, and yes, we replaced the kitchen cabinets. Besides that, there was not much remodeling besides skin coating and stuff that, by my knowledge, it doesn't require permitting. But yes, I received a violation and I immediately contacted, I believe it was the officer. I'm not sure if it was Miss Oslezy. I apologize if I misspell her name. And she later forwarded me to contact the building department. I spoke with Mr. Ulysses there, and Mr. Ulysses told me that he can help me out by giving me one of his contacts, who was Mr. Juan, and he's an architect, and he can help me get this resolved and get this permitted. I, of course, immediately contacted Mr. Juan, and he came, he took measurements, he created floor plans, I believe. I paid Mr. Juan, and afterwards, Mr. Juan disappeared, and I have screenshots of all the messages between me and him. After I submitted a payment, I never heard back from this gentleman, and I tried contacting back the Miami building department, Mr. Ulysses, but either he's on vacation or he has my phone on blocked, so whenever I call, it goes directly to voicemail. So unfortunately, that's my story. The last I heard from Mr. Juan is that the building inspector should come and inspect based on his plans. And that last message from Mr. Juan was on April 15th after I paid him. And on April 26th, I asked, hi, Mr. Juan, I had an inspector stop by the house on La Villa. What is the progress on this, please? And I called and I texted and I never heard back from any of them.
And your last conversation with the building official, was that before you hired the contractor, the architect?
Yes, I spoke to Mr. Ulysses and him personally gave me this architect, yes. I met Mr. Juan on 2 occasions while he was in my house. taking the plans, taking measurements. I met him and it was all good until he disappeared. And I believe he is the one that submitted all those plans to the city. I just don't know what happened in the meantime.
Yeah, because it sounds like the permit, they were submitted and everything was moving and then it stalled with those comments and it's just sitting stalled there for waiting for it to go ahead and get taken care of. Let me hear from the city. What's the well, obviously we know that there has been there was applied, we don't have a permit. The work remained at the property.
What do you mean by work remained? The property was finished when I got the fine. The property was already
Yeah.
finished.
No, and the reason that I said that, the reason that I mentioned that is like in the prior case, like sometimes you can go ahead and come into compliance if you remove the violation. So that's what I meant by that statement, that the work is done, it's there, it's not permitted. There was an application submitted, but it's basically stalled. Were the comments sent directly to that architect?
I don't have the information as far as whether they were emailed or they were a phone call was made or a voicemail was left. It would depend on who the person of contact is on the application. Typically, whoever applies for the permit will put their contact information, but that might be the property owner or that might be the architect. It depends on what agreement the property owner and the architect came to, whether he was going to be running the permit himself or the property owner was. But as far as the notes that I have, the last action was on April 14th, same day that it was applied for, that the plan submitted did not comply with the court case, and then nothing else has been done from then.
Right. Does the city have a recommendation on this one? Because I mean, it stalled for 3 months, which I'm not happy about, but I also understand from her perspective, he did hire somebody who did the plan, submitted them, and now he's MIA.
So this one was vacant throughout this time, but now there's tenants living there. So, you know, obviously, I understand what the property owner is mentioning, but we do have
that's a different thing.
We do have evidence of the remodel, and of course, you know, it doesn't have permits. The garage, it seems like it was converted to a bedroom, so we just want to make sure, of course, that, you know, the home is safe for people to live in, and a reoccupancy inspection was also not done on the property. So I think that's the other date that he mentioned of April 25th, when we left the notice for the reoccupancy. So obviously it is a concern, and we want to make sure that it's taken care of as soon as possible. So our recommendation was going to be, as the scope of work is similar to the other case, 90 days to have a finalized permit.
Yeah. No, and definitely having a tenant in there completely changes the dynamic, because now it's a business, and not that it was any better, that much better before when it was a property owner, but the minute you're putting in a tenant in there, that definitely elevates it. Okay, so I think, sir, you kind of understand the cities, where the city stands in it, and the fact that they need to go ahead and make sure there's compliance, because otherwise, obviously, from the perspective, the whole point of permitting is to protect the health, safety of the citizens, and building without a permit doesn't bide well with that purpose. So I'm going to go ahead and enter.
But building without permits, this was mostly cosmetic work, and not a single outlet was moved, not a single pipe was touched, and again, the circumstances are that the person that's MIA was recommended to me by the city employee. So it's not a. I understand if I found an architect and he went missing in action, then yeah, it's totally my fault. And again, now I'm not blaming the city, but this gentleman was recommended to me by Mr. Ulysses from the building department, and I paid this gentleman, and now I cannot reach him. So I hope you take that into consideration.
And I am, and that's the reason that I was asking all the questions that I am. I think the 90-day time frame is a reasonable time frame, and it will be, so long as you stay in contact with the code officer, because again, you might want to go ahead and talk to the building official again, So within those 90 days, there's some zig and zag of what you can do and can't do. But again, I encourage you to stay in touch with your building official with your progress in either whether you're trying to go ahead and get a hold of your architect, definitely speak again with the building official to see what can happen. And again, very importantly, stay in touch with your code officer because she is the one who is going to relay to me your cooperation, or you just went MIA, said all that thing, then he didn't do anything. But she's there to help you. Okay,
I only
the
ask
city
for
wants
one thing,
compliance,
please,
and
if the
that's she's
code
here to help
officer
you.
doesn't mind contacting Mr. Ulysses from building department, because as I stated at the beginning, whenever I try to dial that number, it goes straight to voicemail. So either Mr. Ulysses is on vacation or my phone is unblocked. So I would just ask for that small favor if the code officer can please talk to Mr. Ulysses about my architect.
I highly doubt that he has Zoom block, but definitely, and if not, just swing by the office or call the building department, the main number, and you might be able to go ahead and get an appointment with him. That might be the path of the easiest way to go ahead and get you guys to connect.
I understand.
All right.
Yes.
All right, I'm going to enter my order. I hereby find that there was proper service and that the violations as stated in the notice of violation did exist and continue to exist. I'm hereby going to order the property owner to come into compliance within 90 days, otherwise face a fine of $100 a day until the violations are corrected. And I'm going to grant the city's request in the amount of $150 in fees and costs incurred by the city in regards to this case. I'm bringing it to the magistrate. So you get an order on the mail, okay?
All right.
Again, very important. Stay in touch with your court officer.
I will. Thank you.
Thank you. All righty, next case.
All right, the next case that we have, case number 21-0047, 140 Lenape Drive, Manuel Tomato.
This case is in compliance. They have since received their building permit for their fence.
Does that mean the city is moving to withdraw it from the agenda? Business?
All right, so that case is withdrawn from the agenda, special master.
It is getting dismissed?
Yes.
Or does the city want a finding of violation?
No, I think it'll be all right. I'll be in contact with him. He hasn't paid the fine yet, but I'll give him a call. And it should be fine. I think we're good.
How does the city want to proceed then? He's gonna go ahead and get it off, table it, and address it informally with a call? All right, so we'll go ahead and continue it for the next agenda if needed. All right, next case.
Next case number 20-00092 665 Albatross Street, Nubia Maldonado and Patrick Nolan Living Trust.
Okay.
One is here.
Did we hear this later? No one's here.
Special master, no one is present. Do you want to move this?
All right, so let's go ahead and then push it back to the end so we can go ahead and get these nice people who are in the audience back to their lives.
Case number 23-0439 1221 Swan Avenue, Nancy and Dennis Davis.
Nancy Davis, 1221 Swan Avenue.
Thank you, Ms.
All right,
Davis.
let's go ahead and hear from the let's hear from the court officer first.
Hi. So this is a repeat violation. They've been here before for the boat.
Yeah.
The boat was removed and placed back, I guess. They've been putting it on the side yard, now on the front yard. Now it's back and it had been removed. So a citation has been issued for $500 for repeat violation. I had Officer Capote, post the citations and the summons. I believe he spoke to your son at the property Yes, okay, I also understand, I spoke to a contractor today that came to pull a permit for the fence. Now, I did explain to him that that fence that you're gonna get is not going to resolve the issue with the boat. I had told your son, he's been told by, the officer, Officer Borrego has spoken to him as well. To let him know that a chain link fence is not sufficient. You need to have a wood or a dura fence in order to obstruct the view.
Well, I could cover that with something, right, the chain link?
No. The zoning will not allow that. So,
I think that's a little ridiculous.
well, we had told them from the beginning though, and also it needs to be a 6-foot fence, not a 5-foot fence.
It is 6 foot.
Okay, the contractor had told me it was 5, so. Okay. So yes, I did speak with him. So we spoke to you today about this, right?
Well, you didn't call me, but they came today to start taking the fence down. The one that's there. Okay. So they start, I mean, I have the contract where I ordered the fence, okay? And when we first came, I didn't have the money to do it. It's over $6,000 to do the fence. And that changed it. But I don't understand if I do that vine that covers the chain link where you can't see. Why do I have to put the other fence? That's gonna be over $12,000. I don't have it.
All I can
Well,
suggest is that you speak to the zoning department and see. But normally they do not allow that.
Well, I'll tell you something. I feel like I'm being singled out.
I understand.
Okay. Because the police were coming to my house every day. My neighbors are going, "What the hell's going on here?" I've lived there for 72 years. I've never had a problem with anybody. And I feel like I'm being harassed. And then I brought some pictures. All these are on the same street as me. And none of them are compliant, and they've been there for a while. So I went and took pictures of them.
Okay.
Is that okay?
That's absolutely fine. You
That's,
give me those
yeah,
and
you
I'll
can-
follow up.
Well, I don't want to get people in trouble, but that's what I'm saying.
well, I'm gonna be the one ruling, and I can tell you off the bat that what's going on with your other neighbors is gonna have no relevance to my ruling, because right now it's your property who was cited. And quite likely in the future, it is possible that they might get cited too as well for the same violations. But right now, the case before me is your property and your property only. Okay.
This is not
So let me go ahead and ask you this. You mentioned that you have a chain link fence that you got the permit on. Is it finished already?
No,
No, I've applied for it. They're getting ready to install it.
Okay, good. Okay, they're good. They haven't started installing it. Got it.
no, he
All right.
took the permit today, so he is going to start the holes for the holes inspection.
Yeah.
So he can always do a revision if you decided that you wanted to change the type of fence you wanted to use. But
So
it's only, like I said. But I had
So
told
one
him
thing
from
that
the beginning not to use a chain link fence.
So one thing that I'm going to ask the city attorney to take a look at is going to be the ordinance to make sure in regards to the language. There typically is an opaqueness that goes with the with issues like this one, because the whole point is to block off the view of the RV. We need to go ahead and make sure that the ordinance dictates the type of fence versus whether it has to be opaque or not. So that might be something that both the city and the contractor and the homeowner might need to look at to make sure that everything is the way that it was intended ordinance wise. Because so right now the property is in violation in regards to the RV still being there. So for purposes of today, I have to find that there is a violation that needs to be corrected. So what I would end up doing is going ahead and providing you time to go ahead and come into compliance, whether it is because the ordinance does give you the green light to use that chain link fence and make it opaque, or the ordinance doesn't give you the opportunity to go use a chain link fence and you have to do something else. Okay, but the good news is that it sounds like you have a contractor already running in line. You've got your survey, you've got your application running. And should the ordinance state that you can't use the chain link fence, you're still in time to go ahead and make that revision with your contractor and the application. Okay.
Okay, well, I've asked
So
several.
those
I'm sorry, I've asked several times to get the information on what's legal and what isn't legal. It's never been provided.
the time, yeah, my order is going to have going to have time frames to that extent. So that there can be some agreement as to what it is. But when it comes to the violation itself, the violation is there. It's a repeat. So I have to proceed as a repeat violation. How you get it corrected, that's where I guess the research would come into play in regards to looking at the ordinance and finding out if you can use that chain link fence or you can't use that chain link fence. Okay. Now, being a repeat, the $500, was it applying retroactively or was it a one-time fine?
It was a one-time. One time,
It's a one-time fine?
yes.
Okay. And then from there on out, just regular with the per diem? What's the per diem?
Let's do it.
Well, we would have to sit and look at the other cases, because there's other cases that have complied, but there's money still pending on those. We'll talk about those later. But for right now, it's $500 for this citation, plus $150 for today's meeting.
Okay. But the per diem, how much time are we going to go ahead and give her to obtain the permit, whether it's for a chain link fence that it becomes opaque because the ordinance allows her to, or to get a proper fence that is going to solve the problem, or remove the RV altogether and fix the problem that way. Because remember, I don't tell you how to comply. I just tell you to comply. In this one, you have many options.
Well, they have the permit.
$100 a day.
I'm sorry. I would say 2 weeks, like 14 days, because you already have the permit. So your next step is to speak to zoning and see if they give you any options, and we can take it from there. So I would say like 14 days.
But that would be because remember, she would have, oh, wait a second, it's recreational vehicles. So she can even remove it temporarily while she goes ahead and gets taken care of that fence. Okay, I see where you're going with it. So, and the reason I say that, ma'am, is the violation itself is not like in the other cases where you had a fence that wasn't permitted or it's disrepair or anything like that. You have a RV vehicle that if you want to go ahead and come into compliance, you can literally just move the RV vehicle to another location, and that brings you to compliance. The minute you bring it back, then you have to go ahead and have the opaqueness in the fence that we discussed. Okay, so I think that's where the city's coming with the 14 weeks, because in 14 weeks, you definitely have the ability to go ahead and move that RV somewhere else. Okay. That is one alternative you have. You might be able to go ahead and get that fence up and done and ready and over. But again, I think that's the reason behind the city, and I do agree. All right. I hereby find that there was proper service and that the violation as stated in the notice of violation did exist and continues to exist. I hereby find that it is a repeat violator in regards to that RV. And as such, I'm going to impose a one-time fine of $500. In addition, I'm going to go ahead and grant the property owner 14 days to come into compliance. Otherwise, face a fine of $100 a day until the violation is corrected. And I'm also granting the city's request in the amount of $150 in regards to fees and costs incurred by the city in regarding this case and bringing it to Magistrate. Okay. And just as I tell everybody else, stay in touch with your code officer. Keep her updated on in progress. Okay. All righty. Thank you. You got something in the mail.
Thank you, Ms. Davis.
You would have to come tomorrow. Yeah.
Thank you, Ms. Davis.
Next case.
I'm sorry, ma'am, can I have your,
Ms. Davis, can we have you sign in?
can we have your phone number? I'm sorry, so that Rosemary can have your information.
Yes, should be 305
Mm-hmm.
803
Mm-hmm,
6875.
6875. Thank you so much.
Okay?
Thank you.
Our special master, we're moving to the fine reduction part of the agenda. Next case, I'm not sure if there's the next one that's signed in 18-00516-356 Palmetto Drive. Again, Investment Group LLC.
Okay, so this case was opened back in 2018. There was a different property owner. This property was bought by Mr. Javier last year in June. It was for maintenance of property, so overgrowth throughout the property. There was a lot of debris. The previous property owner's son, he had a lot of pieces of wood and things like that throughout the property. It was a lot of dilapidated items everywhere. The whole backyard was just full of trash. The pool was completely green. Unfortunately, throughout the years, since this has happened, as I mentioned, this case started back in 2018. They complied with certain things, so they will cut the grass, they'll pick up, but it will become overgrown again, and he will be just continue bringing more items and trailers full of trash. So unfortunately, this case never came into compliance. As soon as this property owner purchased the property, he has maintained it. Now, he was not aware that he needed to let me know once the property came into compliance. So unfortunately, the fine continued to run until it finally reached compliance, which the date was May 16, 2023. So unfortunately, it ran for almost a year after he bought the property. This fine started on January 8th, 2020. And as I mentioned, it ran until May 15th, 2023. So a total of 1,224 days. And it was $25 a day fine, which totaled $30,600.
Was that $30,600? Is that just purely per diems, or does it include any fines or anything like that?
That is correct. That's just the daily fines. The citation was never paid, and also there is a cost for today's hearing of $150 and $150 for lien fees, which is for the recording and the releasing of the liens. Or the lien, I'm sorry, in this case.
Was the lien actually recorded?
Yes, it was recorded.
And if so, what was the date of the recording?
I'm sorry, can you repeat that again? Can you repeat that again? I didn't hear you.
I'm sorry, when was it recorded?
It was recorded on January 7th, 2020.
Okay. And where I'm going with that is that there was notice at the time he purchased that there was violations with the property.
So he bought the property through auction, so it seems that he was not aware.
Got it. Alrighty, let me hear from the property owner. Please state your name and relationship to the case.
My name is Javier Payet, property address 356 Palmetto Drive. Like she mentioned, the officer is very clear, and I bought the property with the full intentions of cleaning the house and making all the necessary update to the house. When I bought the house, somebody was living there. It took me some time to do an eviction to move the people that was living there, probably 3 months. And then when I complete the eviction process, I start my cleaning of the house. Inside it was destroyed, it was a mess. I couldn't believe people was living there. And then outside, I started cleaning, and my problem was that I didn't know what was the violations in the house. So I visited the city informed me everything that it was going on. So I start doing everything. I contact my lawn to taking care of my landscaping guys and clean the house, did everything that I needed to do. But I never came back to the city to talk to the officer and let her know that everything was clean. And then, well, some things happened with me that I needed to travel to my country because my dad passed away, and same personal things that happened, and months went by, and now I'm trying to. I mean, the house was taken care every day since I started. But my only problem was that I never came back to the city and said, listen, the house is already taken care. I'm paying every month my landscaping people to clean the house, to take care of the house, because I'm not doing anything right now inside the house, only cleaning up the outside.
Did the city have a recommendation on it?
Special Master, as you know, you, under the ordinance, 1027, you have the right to reduce, based on the timing of compliance. Property owners, as you know, also purchase the properties at risk, knowing all the liens that exist on the particular property. So
Correct.
it's to your discretion, in regards to the reduction that you're gonna grant here, but just know that the total is 30,600 when based on the time that it existed, but you have the right under the ordinance to grant discretionary reduction.
All right, has the property owner being otherwise cooperative in regards to maintaining the property and any other properties you might own in the city?
Yes, so, once the property was purchased, I did notice, of course, before it was, it was always overgrown, the lawn and things like that, so when you purchase the property, you could tell the difference. Now, as I mentioned, what happened was that, because I don't have access to the backyard, and a lot of, mainly, the case had to do with the backyard and the pool and things like that, I needed access, as soon as I mentioned that information, of course. He granted me access to the property, but, as I mentioned, almost a year went by, and, that's continued to accumulate.
All right. And the property is rented now, right?
Currently, the property is vacant, so it was, there's another case for it, which is coming up next. The previous owner demoed the kitchens and the bathrooms, so it continues to be in that state, so it's in demolition, nobody's living on the property.
Okay. Alrighty, I hereby find, based on the evidence presented, that the property has come into compliance and that the property owner did assist in getting the property into compliance after he took title. However, the violations have been running since 2020 with the lien reported. And as such, I'm going to go ahead and reduce the fine to $5,000, which shall be due and payable within 30 days. Otherwise, it'll revert back to the full amount of the $30,600 and never be eligible for reduction again. Yep. So $5,000 in 30 days. I want to call the next one.
Next case,
For the same property?
1064 356 Palmetto Drive, Fayette Investment Group LLC.
Code?
I'm sorry. I was just finishing taking notes. Okay, so, sort of similar, same property, if this case is for work that was started without a permit, as I mentioned previously, the previous owners had demoed the kitchen, removed the cabinets, obviously electrical, plumbing, as well for the bathroom. A permit was applied for, when this property owner purchased a property and he became aware of the situation, he applied for the demolition permit. However, there seemed to be some, I guess, like miscommunication between him and the building department. And the permit never got issued until May 19, 2023. So the fine continued to run until the permit was finalized and the case came into compliance, which was May 21st, 2023, and that fine accumulated to, 98,400, which was a total of 656 days at $150 a day.
Now, you mentioned that there was, there appears to have a delay between the application for the permit and the closing it out. And then you mentioned that it was miscommunication. Was it a matter that, were there revisions to the permit that were never responded to? Or was it just ready and it's out?
So the permit was actually approved almost right away. It was applied for on, as I mentioned, September 22nd, 2022, and it got approved as per what the notes on the building department are. Well, it got approved on the 25th, but they added the approval on the 28th of September. However, as per the notes that I have on from their system, it says that the building official had hold up the demolition permit until a remodel permit was applied for. So the permit was approved. However, they would hold it until a new permit will be applied for. Of course, they don't, they're not aware that this is it has a daily fine or anything like that. But yeah, it seems because there was an active court case, they hold up that permit until a new permit was applied for the remodel of the property.
So was a new permit applied for the remodel? Is that how it got resolved?
No, but the owner, he met with the building official back in May, and the building official did release the permit due to the daily fine, but it seems like he's already working with an architect. And I would think that the building official spoke with the architect and things like that, and has confirmed that information to release the permit. But the property owner will be applying for permits for remodel, because as we mentioned, the house on the inside is completely demoed.
Okay, got it. Okay, and sir, the plans for the property are to go ahead and get it livable inside?
Yes, I'm working on all the terms for the remodel.
Okay, so I'm sorry, you gotta get closer to the mic because I can barely hear you. Has a permit been applied for, or you're in the works to go ahead and get that permit for the renovations inside?
Yes, we already applied for the roof, and then I'm applying for the to change the windows and the remodeling inside. Everything is in process. We did what Ulises told us to do. He told me to do about the demolition, so it will stop the fine. And then after that, I started my process doing with the architect and everything, and takes so long. It's like the same story that the other person was explaining. That I call the architect and they don't answer. It's taking some time, until I present.
Okay.
But I already present the permit for the roof. I'm trying to spend the necessary money to put the house back in normal house, so I can.
Got it. All right, would the city have an objection for the payment to be made within 60 days instead of 30?
You have the discretion, special master, 60 days is fine.
Alrighty. All right, hereby find that based on the evidence presented and the testimony today, that there has been a showing of the cause as to the accrual of the fines, and like that there was most of it was accrued by a prior property owner. Fines accrued in the amount of $98,100 and going to be reduced to $9,800, which shall be paid within 60 days. Otherwise, it'll revert back to the full amount of the $98,100 and never be eligible for a lien reduction again.
I'm sorry, will you be able to repeat again the amount?
9,800, that was 100, so 9,810. So basically I'm doing 10%.
Okay, and
Payable
I'm
within
sorry,
60 days.
so besides this, is this gonna be the total amount, or are we gonna be adding?
No, this is just this case. So he has the 5,000, he has a 5 on the other one, which is due within 30. And then $9,810, which is 10% of the original lien amount, which is due and payable within 60 days. So I kind of staggered it for him. So he had $5,000 on the one case.
Additional $400 for of the cost of the hearing, the lien fees, and also the citation, correct?
So those are just the fines. So you can add those costs on top of it because those are hard costs. So my reduction was strictly as to the fine amount. Right?
Thank you very much.
Thanks,
When you
Mr.
get something in the mail.
Next case, 20-01.
Thank you.
776-490 Pinecrest Drive, Nelson Cotterman.
So the property owner, he sent me a text that he had an emergency and wasn't able to make it. I'm not sure if you would like to maybe like table this case for the following hearing.
Absolutely. Yes, we will. The movement has to be present, so we'll go ahead and move it up to the next agenda for the next hearing.
Thank you, Special Master. Next case, 22-106715 Glendale Drive, Charles Sergio. Who's the officer?
So this is Officer Novo. The case was brought before you, Special Master, on March the 7th. This was a maintenance of property case. You had given him 45 days to comply. Or a $100 per day fine would start. Unfortunately, he didn't come into compliance until May the 8th. So that it was 17 days. At $100 a day, it was $1,700. As for our ordinance, we can reduce it 80%. So if that brings it to $340, unless you decide differently.
That 240, right?
340.
All right, let me hear from the property owner. So what happened that it wasn't complied with within the 45 days?
Okay, my name is João Mendonça from 15 Glendale Drive. A week before the deadline, I contacted Ms. Noble and asked her what needs to be done. And she told me that she was out of, her son was sick and she was not working. And she was gonna send all those ladies to take pictures. So she went there, took pictures, and I was supposed to talk to Ulysses. And I called many times and asked him and what needs to be done. And nothing was told me what needs to be done. So I have a bunch of text messages between me, Ulysses, Ms. Noble, and asking what needs to be done, and no one told me what needs to be done. And then every time he asked me, tell me something, I did next day. So if I would have told me a week before, everything was done by the deadline. But it was a chasing of city officials. Actually, Ulysses scheduled a meeting with me I left the work early to meet him, and when I got here, he had left early that day. So, I mean, it was, I feel that I don't own anything. Because a week before, I tried to be in compliance and ask the officials what needs to be done, but no one told me what needs to be done. That's my point.
Okay. All right, you did get a copy of the order and the notice of violation, right?
Yeah, I did.
Right. The recommendation from the city is that reduction to $240. I'm gonna go ahead and find a good cause, and in light that it was just a couple of days, I'm gonna reduce the fine to the $240, which shall be due and payable within 30 days. Otherwise, it'll revert back to the original amount of $1,700.
Sorry, that was 240.
Is it
I'm sorry?
240 or 340?
Yeah, plus the hard cost. You said did I answer your question?
So 240 within 30 days, or else it will revert
Yeah,
back.
200 yeah, correct. 240 days. Otherwise, it reverts back to the full amount and never be eligible for a lien reduction again.
Okay.
All right, so you get an order in the mail.
Thank you. Thank you.
Thanks. Next one.
Next case that we have is case number 17-02-106-1161 Clover Avenue, Jose Fernandez.
Yeah, good afternoon, my name is Jose Francisco.
Give me 1 second, let me.
Sorry.
Okay, so this case started back in 2017. It was for a dirty school. Unfortunately, I think Mr. Francis has had some issues. And for whatever reason, he hadn't been able to clean that pool until just recently. There was an order recorded back on the 5th of December 2017. And that was for, give me a second here. It was supposed to be for $50 a day, beginning on December 15th. That was the ruling by the Code Enforcement Board. Okay. So,
Which I would, at the time I found very lenient. But unfortunately, there were issues after.
he's been out of compliance for 2,033 days. So times the $50 per day brings it to $101,650. From that, we'll reduce the 150 in liens because that can't be deducted. So it would be $101,500 at minus 25%, which is what the ordinance allows for. Gives it a deduction of $25,375. Which brings it to $76,125 plus the initial $150 in liens, gives it a grand total for a maximum deduction of $76,275.
Okay, so the reduction of the lien amount will be down to $36,125, and then on top of that, the $150 hard cost.
Right, we would have the 150 again.
All right, let me hear from the property owner. I know you'd made some statements briefly. Could you please state your name for the record, please?
My name is Jose Franceschi. I live at 61 Clover Avenue.
All right, and it sounds like you had some health issues for some
I've been
time,
suffering
which
from
prevented.
Depression and anxiety since 2012. and lost my job in 2013. In 2017, we had, I think it was a storm, not part of the pool screen, and I have an oak tree. It's a protected tree that sheds constantly leaves onto the pool. In 2017, after the hearing, I was still married, and my family helped me to empty the pool, clean it, and then we feel that there was another hurricane, and a big branch of the oak tree fell into the pool, and and more of the screen was damaged, and I became overcome with depression, and in 2020, well, I'm sorry, in 2019, my divorce with my ex-wife became final. In
Right, so,
2020, I had a stroke.
sorry, I don't want you to go ahead and this is a public hearing, so that I don't want you to go ahead and be just basically publicizing all of your personal issues on it. It sounds like you've had some health issues in regards to your inability to go ahead and come into compliance. The city's recommending the lowest amount that the city by ordinance can actually go, which is at $36,125. With $150 hard cost for the release of the liens. Does the city have a recommendation as to timeframes for payment?
I would say 30 days.
Okay, that's great, thank you.
And that's what was that again?
That is great.
30 days.
30 days is reasonable, thank you.
For $36,125?
76,275.
I'm sorry?
Oh,
Did you lower it? Yes.
I think she misunderstood your amount.
Yeah, the maximum deduction as per our ordinance, which is 25%, brings it down from 101,500 to a total of $76,275, and that's including the $150 in liens.
Okay, so that's a reduced amount. I thought that the 20% would be the new number, not the 80%. So it's the 80% that's the new number.
He gets 25% off of 101,650. Not 80.
So
25%.
What's the liquidated amount of what the city is recommending for the reduction? What we would have to pay?
The full amount to pay is $76,275.
Okay, and the recommendation for payment is 30 days?
Right.
I am asking for leniency because of the hardships that I had. I had a stroke. I've been in recovery since 2020. And I'm willing to pay, but I'm going to have to sell the house because I cannot afford to pay the mortgage, and if I would be grateful if you could lower it more than that, but I understand if you cannot.
Yeah, unfortunately, that's what I'm bound by the ordinance. Just as I'm in every other case, I'm kind of bound by the ordinance. I can sometimes get some flexibility with the timeframes for payment, but even if the city were to agree to a longer time, it's still a good amount of money that would be due.
Look, we became compliant yesterday.
Right.
I've been receiving help since my stroke. When I had my stroke, I pay-corrected myself because I was completely incapable to go on with my life. But I've been doing the best that I can and I've been receiving help.
So here's the concern I have for the city. If we enter the reduction today and we give him a time frame, because the amounts are so large, he might not be able to make that payment. And once he enters that order, he's not going to be eligible for a lien reduction again afterwards. So even in the event he sells the property 6 months from now, even that reduction wouldn't apply because now the lien has reverted to the full amount, which would actually put him a little bit even further behind where he's at right now. So I'm wondering if, I mean, again, sir, you have every right to go ahead and have me proceed with the reduction, which what the city's recommended. You heard the number and the suggested timeframes. The problem is that once I enter that order and you fail to make that payment, you will never be eligible for it again. So if you decide to sell the house later on, there's going to be an escrow retained for that large amount, as opposed to potentially a smaller amount by just waiting longer. But again, I'm bound by the ordinance. But if you want to go ahead and make the request, it is your hearing, and we're here at your request.
Master, under the ordinance, you do have the discretion under exceptional circumstances and documented circumstances of quick cause and financial hardship. If Mr. Francese is able to provide documentation to the clerk of his health issues, of his financial issues, you can take that into consideration outside of the limitations of the 25% reduction in this special case. So if Mr. Francese can provide today or in short order other information to your based on his testimony and otherwise, you do have the discretion under very limited circumstances in the ordinance to consider other testimony or documentation of his hardship for a reduction beyond the 25%. I just wanted to kind of note that for the record.
I appreciate that, counsel. Thank you. All right, my inclination right now is to make the reduction down to that $10,000 and give them a year to go ahead and make that payment. That way, it'll be equitable with the amount of the lien. It'll be a significant reduction for the property owner under the circumstances. But again, from the city's concern about it having been open since 2017, which is a legitimate concern. But still allowing him a whole year to go ahead and pay it, which would probably be something a little bit more something that he might be able to actually pay.
Special Master, you have that exceptional discretion under the ordinance. I would just ask that if Mr. Francese could complete the record by providing any documentation from medical personnel or otherwise.
I can provide the contact information from the mental health institution I go to for therapy. And I have here my copy of the discharge from the hospital when I had my stroke. I don't have the records of when I pay-corrected myself. I had the stroke in September, believe 20 or around September 20. I'm sorry, August of 2020. I had the stroke. While I was in the hospital with the stroke, I could barely speak. I could barely walk, and I had suicidal thoughts. So that was during COVID. I couldn't get anybody. My son couldn't come to visit me to the hospital. my ex was gracious enough to bring me clothes, but I was so desperate that I asked to be Baker acted, and that's when I turned my life around because I decided to ask for help. Before that, I wasn't really engaged in my mental health like I've been since the stroke, so I can provide.
That will be helpful. I mean, the clerk, and you can see Mr. Francis after, just to kind of complete the record, whatever.
That's what I was gonna say. Yes, yeah. I like that idea. So here's Mr. Prince, this is what I'm thinking about right now. You heard me say probably about $1,000 a month for 10 basically for the 12 months. That'll break it down into a smaller amount. What I'm going to do is I'm going to go ahead and table this one, have you speak with the city attorney, just provide him the documentation that he's requested, and perhaps you guys can go ahead and enter to some stipulated agreement along those lines, absent the city and the property owner coming into different agreement that they would like me to go ahead and bless. But at this time, my inclination is for your own benefit, Mr. Francois, to go ahead and allow you to go ahead and speak with the attorney. That way the attorney can see the documentation, and we can see if we can go under that extreme circumstances for that reduction.
I'm currently trying to sell the house, and I need from the special master a ruling so the buyer can have, I can put the money in escrow that I need to pay the city, so that the sale can be done.
Well, the right now,
I have
right now there's a recorded lien.
The house, and then I'm gonna have to sell it.
So there's currently a recorded lien. So theoretically, like say, for example, you decide to sell the house today, whoever buys that is responsible for whatever liens have accrued, and that would be probably retained from your escrow, from the proceeds of the sale. So right now, and that's where I was alluding towards that earlier, when we were talking about that the $80,000 reduction, of you not being eligible to go ahead and make a reduction now. So I think in the interest of both parties, I think the best route is for you to speak with the city attorney, with having in the knowledge, both of you, that where I'm heading is that $1,000 mark, the $10,000 mark, payable over a whole year. And I think perhaps you guys can go ahead and come to some agreement, in regards to that. Okay.
Okay. Thank you so much.
All right, and then if something for some reason doesn't work out, we can put you back on the agenda. We can address it at a hearing. We can address it by a stipulated agreement between the city and yourself, whichever way you guys want to handle it. But I think under the circumstances, given the history, the medical history, and the reasoning for not being in compliance timely, might be something that you want to go ahead and address directly with the city attorney instead of having it in the open forum.
Okay.
Okay.
So I stay.
All righty. Let's go ahead and call the next case.
All right, next case, is.
Sir, so hold on. Sir, make sure that you go ahead and give the city attorney your contact information, so that, or wait until after the hearing so you guys can speak, whichever way you guys want to work it out. But I want to make sure that it doesn't fall through the cracks.
Thank you, Special Master. We're gonna handle it with the clerk, here.
Fantastic. Thank you.
Moving to the appeal section of the agenda, case number 23-0408 404 Oriole Avenue, Roger and Evelyn Pla.
So this case is for advertising a vacation rental with a registration being issued. I believe it was in June, when we had our last hearing, that she requested the appeal. However, she was not able to make it to the last hearing and was not able to make it to this hearing either. So last hearing, you had requested that if she wanted to proceed, for her to reappeal, which she did, but wasn't able to make it. Now, she did state over a text message that she sent me prior to the hearing that she understood in the event that it was not approved, the appeal that she would proceed to pay him. But, she had been found in violation previously for not, having the registration issued and advertising on, short-term rental platforms. She had been issued a ticket and she had paid that amount prior. She had removed it from the platforms. She had been explained that if she was to repost it, then there was gonna be a ticket, which she did post it when she applied for the local business tax. However, that, of course, was not in compliance, so she was reissued a ticket. In this case, it was the double the amount of $500, and that's the amount that she's trying to appeal. It has not yet been paid.
Got it.
She
Okay.
has complied,
but
she has obtained an issued registration.
But she's not here to go ahead and address the appeal of the $500, finding the $500 fine in regards to, the repeat.
That is correct.
So, I mean, it's the movements, the respondents, homeowners, request, hence they need to be here to go ahead and make that request and tell me why they're appealing it. So I don't see how we can proceed with this one either. So they can go ahead and want to reappeal, go ahead and reappeal. But again, I think that's 2 times that if they've requested an appeal and they don't show up, I think by this time, hopefully they'll get the message that I will not hear that appeal unless they're present.
Great, I would notify the property owner.
I'm sorry?
Didn't hear you.
I'm sorry, I mentioned that I will notify the property owner in case she would like to reappeal the citation. Otherwise, then I guess her other option would be to pay for it.
I mean, we have it by Zoom. So right now, I mean, there's no reason for there being a no-show for making that request twice and not appearing either time. All right, are we done with the purpose with audience members live and on Zoom?
Yes, I believe so. So we're going to the order certification part of the agenda?
All righty, let's do it.
Wait, this whole time, you just stepped out for a second.
Yeah.
Here's just observing. So with that, since everybody else, yeah, okay, thank you. Thank you so much.
Unless you have a case.
No, we're good. Would you like?
I got a case with the audio video set up.
Yeah.
Other than that, no, thank you.
All right.
Thank you.
So how do you want to approach these order
You're
certifications?
still in the office, right? 665 officer? Are we gonna do that one or are we gonna do 417 Lafayette? Well, 417 Lafayette, I just have the orders. Did we do 417 Lafayette? That's next.
Yes, sure.
That's 15 Glendale we took care of.
Okay. Right, 220871 417 Lafayette, Georgina Raimundo.
Yes. So this case was brought before you, special magistrate, on May the 2nd. She did attend via Zoom. She had 60 days to comply with a finalized permit, or a $100 per day fine would be imposed starting July the 2nd. No permits have been submitted. She did contact me to get an extension towards the June 23rd. I explained to her that I could not grant her an extension, that since that had been issued by you, that I could not grant an extension, that she would need to come into compliance, and then she can ask for a fine reduction if that's what she wanted. But you know, she hadn't made any attempts in a month to do anything, so yeah. And she still to this day hasn't done it.
All right, and when was the last inspection?
Well, I just checked today for permit and there was still no permit. As of yesterday, I started adding the monies. So it's $800 right now added for, fines. On the $100 per day, unless you decide not to do that, but I do have the order here for you to sign. I can send it to you, or if you want to wait for the next hearing.
No, you can go ahead and send it to me. I'll be happy to go ahead and sign it. So right now we have our certification at $800 of fines that have accrued. Does that, in addition to that, is there a request for the lien to include hard cost?
Yes. So this is.
That seems a fine, so we would have.
Yesterday, $100 per day, so it's a per day fine. So that'll.
But we would have. But we would have the 150 and any one-time fines that were associated with it.
And then the release of lien and the recording of liens, that will be added as well, which is another 150. Yeah, because once you sign this, we
Right,
have.
this one had the 115 fees and costs, correct?
I'm sorry?
Okay. So
It's
is it another
150
150 on?
recording and releasing of lien, and then 150 to come in front of you. In front of the hearing. Front of the.
But they came before, that's where I'm going. It's like, so in the per diems, because they didn't comply timely, they have $800, right? Because it was a day that $100 a day.
I've added already. I mean, I can always deduct it, but yes, it's $100 per day, and that'll keep running until she finalizes the permit.
So, but my question is, in addition to the fines that are accruing because she's not in compliance, there's going to be the 115 fees and costs that I probably granted as part of my order, correct, in May?
Correct. And then there'll be another 150 for the recording and releasing of liens.
Correct. And that's where I'm going, fees and costs. So it's 150 for the fees and costs, and then an additional 150 for costs related to the recording and future release. Record to lien. Okay. So the order is going to be the lien fines accrued to $100, continue to accrue at $100 plus the 150 in fees and costs which have not been paid, plus the 150 in expenses related to the recording of the lien.
Right.
Right. Okay. And we do not have anybody present. I hereby find that based on the evidence presented, magistrate's order relating to the hearing that took place on May 2nd of 2023 has not been complied with as stated therein, and as such, fines have accrued to date in the amount of $800, based on $100 a day, and the property being out of compliance for a total of 8 days as of today. The property is not in compliance, which means that this will continue to accrue at the rate of $100 a day until the violations are corrected and the property is brought to compliance. I'm going to certify said order in the amount of $800, which shall continue to accrue at the rate of $100 a day until the violations are corrected. In addition to that, there is still outstanding the amount of $150 in fees and costs incurred, which were part of the magistrate order, and $150 relating to costs related to the recording of the lien in the official records of Miami-Dade County. By certifying said order, it shall become a lien against the property and recorded in the public records of Miami-Dade County. A little longer than usual, but it works.
Thank you, Special Master. I think the last item I think we have 2 more items. It's number 220-01486-601 La Villa Drive, Pablo Guerrera and Valeria Lozada Was.
So this case also came in front of you on our May hearing. And it was for advertising on vacation rental platforms without being registered. Now, at that hearing, you have mentioned that they did not come, they did not attend the hearing, and you have mentioned that you will grant them an additional 10 days. Now, what happened with this case, and we want to make sure with you prior to us proceeding with it, was that the order was never done, so it was never signed, so they actually did not receive a physical copy of it. So we're not sure if you would like us to post, if you would like to sign a new order and us posting it with, let's say, an additional 10 days from tomorrow or something like that. prior to recording it, they're still out of compliance.
The order, I never signed the order for this one,
I never sent it to you.
so that means. Oh, okay, so I gotta take care. So was it sent and I didn't order and I didn't sign it?
No, I never sent
Okay.
it. Yeah, I never.
Oh, you
got
never
the
said it.
order done.
Okay, so what, so
we're
let's do it this way.
To do a new order, granting them, let's say, if you were to sign it tomorrow, 10 days from tomorrow. For them to come into compliance, since you had ordered 10 days. Or if we should, bring this case for hearing again.
So what we'll do is, the hearing was already done and I entered my order, which is not reduced in writing, and we do have a public record that basically memorializes what my ruling was. So what we'll do is, send me the order, I'll go ahead and enter the order, mail it to the property owner. So technically, the property owner now has 10 days from, today, because I'll be sending it today, to go ahead and come into compliance, with, to just getting to compliance, and then the fines can start accruing after those 10 days. And then the case can be re-noticed for certification for the next hearing, because those 10 days are gonna lapse very fast. So if it's not paid, if it's non-compliance timely, then go ahead and set it for the next hearing.
And I'm sorry, just to understand, you mentioned that you're going to mail out the notice?
No. So what we're gonna do is the hearing. When I did the hearing, I enter my ruling.
Correct.
So that's not gonna change. So we don't have to have another hearing on it. It's already done and over. We're just gonna reduce that into the written order. Legally, the minute that I verbalize my order at the hearing, because it's a public record, it should be taking effect. However, under the circumstances, so that they actually do have something in writing so that they can receive that, we're gonna go ahead and have you send me the order, still with the ruling, reflecting the ruling that I did in May. And we're gonna send that to the property owner, because my signature is gonna be different, with the date. So they're gonna have 10 days from the date of my signature to go ahead and come into compliance.
Okay, perfect.
So nothing changes. The only thing that's changing is that it's the order is going out a little later than it should have. But because it's 10 days, it's not likely to make much of a difference. So it can be put back on the agenda for certification on the next hearing. The reason that I say that is because it's just 10 days. By the time those 10 days expire, if they haven't come into compliance, then the city has the right to go ahead and bring it for certification.
Okay, perfect. Thank you.
Thank you. All right. And I think there was one that we skipped in, new business.
I think that's, this one in new business.
4-5, yeah. Agenda item 4-5.
Perfect. All right, let's go ahead and do those.
Case number 20-00092 665 Albatross Street, Nubia Maldonado and Patrick Nolan Land Trust.
This case, is actually an old case from 2019. They had built a trellis with a deck without permit. There had been a permit issued for this deck, back in '99. However, since that deck was replaced in October of 2019, that, permit is now voided, so they would need a new permit. And when they came in to speak to zoning, it didn't meet the correct setbacks, so it can't be approved. So he would need to demolish it. So, here we are, they haven't demolished it, it's still sitting there. I posted, another notice, and then I followed up with a citation on March the 21st for $100. It was sent, also via certified mail and, the posting. I did receive the green card back signed on April the 3rd. Again, the trellis with the deck remains, still no permit, doesn't meet setbacks. Summons was posted on June the 30th, and mailed via certified mail.
Already noting that there are nobody present here and nobody here on regards on behalf of the respondents. Hereby find that based on the evidence presented, the violations as stated in the notice of violation that exists, that there was proper service. And I'm going to go ahead and order the property owner to come into full compliance within 30 days. Otherwise, face a fine of $100 a day until the violations are corrected. I'm also going to grant the city's request in the amount of $150 in fees and costs incurred by the city regarding this case and bringing it to magistrate.
Okay, so, we're gonna grant them 30
Next one.
days. We're granting
30
them
days.
30 days to come in, and if not, we'll start the fines on the 31st day.
Oh, yeah.
Okay.
Mhm.
So that's
30 days.
$100 per day,
$100 a day.
plus the 150. Okay,
Correct.
perfect. Okay, thank you.
Sounds like they're ignoring you. Maybe they'll stop ignoring you now.
Perfect.
All right.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. Special master, I think that concludes the agenda unless you have anything that you.
Didn't we do, I think, did we do, I thought we had 4 and 5. We just did 5. Did we 4?
No. The agenda item was 4-5. That's the
Oh.
one we just did, yeah.
The item.
Okay.
Compliant.
Yeah,
Also,
got it.
that was very registered.
All right.
Regarding the citation that has not been paid.
Perfect. All righty. So it looks like that concludes our agenda for today. Thank you so much, guys.
Thank you.
See you guys on the next one. Just send me the orders over and I'll take care of them.
Thank you. so
Especially
much.
that first one, the one for the 10 days on the vacation rental. Just send it over so I can go ahead and get that signed and
Yeah,
everything.
I'll go
Take care
ahead
of
and
it.
send that to you shortly.
All right.
You.